Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pampering Myself podcast. Today, we're going to dive deep into the murky waters of self-doubt, exploring the nuance, triggers, and the effects on our lives. And as always, look for strategies to minimize those negative thoughts that we all occasionally have. Self-doubt is more than just a feeling of uncertainty. It's a persistent questioning of our abilities, our worth, and potential. It's that nagging voice in the back of our mind that tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or even worthy enough. I know I've heard it plenty of times myself, and perhaps you have as well. And while it's natural to experience those moments of self-doubt, chronic self-doubt can have a significant impact on your mental health and overall well-being. Here are a few common indications that you may be dealing with self-doubt, knowingly or unknowingly. Are you always second-guessing your decisions? How about comparing yourself unfavorably to others? Constantly seeking reassurance, or playing it safe to avoid failure? What about stage fright? Self-doubt can hold you back from pursuing your goals and dreams, and over time, it can chip away at your self-confidence. So what are some of the common triggers for self-doubt? Well, it varies from person to person, but the research shows some of the most common triggers include failure or perceived failure, criticism or rejection, fear of judgment or embarrassment, perhaps a lack of support. As I was reading over this list of common triggers, I had a flashback. Here's a transparent moment. In grad school, when I was completing my thesis, without getting into the details, I'm sure somewhere in the past episodes I've mentioned it, talked about it, I was truly experiencing self-doubt. It may have been one or all of the above triggers. I'm not sure, but what I do know is it definitely played with my mental and physical health. Evident by the fact that once I completed, quote, the paper, unquote, I had chest pains and spent 2 days in the hospital. And if you're interested in hearing me share that story, you can view that video at Vimeo, vimeo.com/P Jones. Now let's think about those so-called triggers for a moment. Failure or perceived failure. We've all experienced failure at some point in life. How did you handle it? What about criticism or rejection? Fear of judgment, embarrassment is something we can't avoid. In today's world, where social media is so much part of our life, it's easy to fall into that comparison trap and feel like you're not measuring up, especially for teens or people struggling with low self-esteem. Studies show social media plays a big part in a teenager's life, but I don't think we need a study to tell us that. Think about it. Many teens never knew a world where social media didn't exist. So much of what they see online, like fights or likes or mean comments, are real, and it's a part of their life. The more we compare ourselves to others, the more we feed into our own self-doubt. It becomes a vicious cycle that can be difficult to break. But here's the good news. Self-doubt is not, and I repeat, not a permanent condition. With awareness, self-reflection, and the right strategies, you can learn to manage and even overcome it. And that's what we'll be exploring in today's episode. Practical strategies for recognizing self-doubt, and ultimately overcoming it. So, what are some strategies for recognizing self doubt? Like anything else, we have to recognize our shortcomings and the need for change. One effective strategy is to pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. Notice when you start to doubt yourself or your abilities. Are there certain situations or triggers that tend to bring up feelings of inadequacy or uncertainty? By tuning into these patterns, you can begin to identify when self doubt is at play. Now, when I was doing my research for the thesis, I never felt I had enough material. So I kept researching. In reality, that was that little voice in the back of my head telling me my research wasn't good enough. I needed more. And even though I had stacks and piles of research stretched across my 7.5 foot dining room table, I believed I told myself I had to keep researching. And I think it was to avoid writing the paper. Procrastination had set in because I didn't have confidence in myself. I was second guessing myself on everything that I had done with that paper. Another helpful technique is to keep a journal. Take some time each day to jot down any instance of self-doubt that arise. Write your thoughts and emotions you experience as well as the circumstances surrounding them. This can help you gain clarity and insight into your own patterns of self-doubt. On a more recent bout of self-doubt, I delayed setting up my social media accounts for my business because once again, I questioned myself. Was my content good enough? How would others perceive it? Just so you know, I took my own advice and got it done. LOL. Now, it can also be useful to pay attention to how your body responds to self doubt. Notice any physical sensations such as tension in your muscles, a knot in your stomach, or an increased heart rate. Pay attention to those physical signs that show self doubt is affecting you so you can take action and deal with it. Remember, it can have an adverse effect on your mental and overall well being. And lastly, don't underestimate the power of feedback from others. Now, sometimes those around us can see our self doubt more clearly than we can ourselves. Pay attention to any feedback or comments you receive from friends, families, or colleagues that may suggest you're doubting yourself. They may try to encourage you by saying things, you can do it. So pay attention. Their observation can provide valuable insights into your behavior. I know because I've done it myself, but I've learned to take it in and do a self evaluation. And more times than not, they're right. So the question becomes how to overcome self doubt. Well, I'm glad you asked because overcoming self doubt is a journey that involves self awareness, self compassion, and proactive strategies. And as previously stated, you want to first recognize it. So I'm going to give you 10 steps in how to overcome. And the first is identifying your triggers. Recognize the situations, the people, or the thoughts that trigger your self-doubt. Set aside some time for self-reflection. Think back to recent moments when you felt self-doubt creeping in. What were you doing? Who were you with? What thoughts were running through your mind? Number 2, challenge those negative thoughts. When self-doubt arises, challenge the negative thoughts and the beliefs that accompany them. And ask yourself if there's evidence to support these thoughts or if they are simply assumptions or distortions. Because we can just make up things in our mind that really don't exist. And that's part of it. It is a mental thing and it can distract you. Number three, practice self compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, just like you would a friend. Acknowledge that everyone experiences self doubt at times, and it's okay to struggle. In other words, give yourself some grace. I used to say, I'm my own worst critic, and that is a recipe for self doubt. And I know quite a few people who believe that theory because, yes, we are harder on ourselves sometimes than we are on others. Number four, set realistic goals. Break down your goals into smaller, achievable steps and celebrate those progress along the way rather than focusing solely on the end result. And when you focus on the big picture, your goals can become overwhelming. What I've learned to do is create an outline of my goals and focus on one part at a time. In other words, taking baby steps. Because the goals are more manageable and I'm more likely to succeed. Back to my most recent episode of self doubt, thinking I had all of these social media apps to recreate, get content in them. I decided to take one at a time, focus on one area of what I needed to get done, and I was successful. I didn't have to procrastinate because it wasn't overwhelming to me. So make sure those goals are realistic. Number five, focus on your strengths. Remind yourself of your strengths, talents, and past successes. Keep a list of your accomplishments to refer them when in self doubt or recall them. Those would be reminders that help build self confidence and tear down that self doubt. As I'm bumping my head up against the wall and feeling frustrated in preparation of a new business venture, I had to remind myself I've done it before, successfully. And by focusing on my past success, it helped me to eliminate those negative thoughts. Also reminded me to make those goals smaller and achievable. You see how we back up into all of those steps? Number six, seek support. Don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family, or even a therapist for support and encouragement. Sometimes an outside perspective can provide valuable insight and reassurance. It's always good to have someone you can confide in. Someone who will reel you back in and help you see things more clear, or just someone you can bounce ideas off of. Number seven, practice self-care. Take care of your physical and emotional well-being by prioritizing activities that nurture your mind, body, and spirit. This might include exercise, meditation, hobbies, or spending time with loved ones. Surprisingly, most people skip this part for several reasons: time restraints, guilt, lack of awareness or need, prioritizing others, and I'm sure there are a list of other reasons I didn't mention. The thing I hear the most is, I only need 5 hours of sleep. You might think you're functioning after only 5 hours, but it's possible you can be doing more harm than good, according to the health experts. Number eight, challenge perfectionism. Accept that nobody is perfect and that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. Embrace perfection and view failures as opportunities for growth. I believe there's a lesson in everything: what to do and what not to do. That's been my motto forever. Number nine, visualize success. Imagine yourself succeeding in achieving your goals. Visualization can help build confidence and motivation, while also reducing feelings of self-doubt. That's why people create vision boards, because there's something about seeing and believing. And number 10, take action. Finally, take proactive steps towards your goals, even when self doubt tries to hold you back. Action is often the antidote to doubt, and taking small steps forward can build momentum and confidence over time. As we wrap up this episode on unraveling self doubt, it's important to reflect on the insights and strategies we discuss. Self doubt is a common and natural experience, but it doesn't have to dictate our lives. By understanding the root cause of self doubt and implementing practical strategies for managing it, we can cultivate greater self awareness, confidence, and resilience. Remember, self doubt is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity for growth and self discovery. Embrace the journey of unraveling your doubts and trust in your ability to overcome challenges and achieve your goals. With a mindset of self compassion and a supportive community by your side, you have the power to navigate life's uncertainties with courage and determination. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and until next time, remember to believe in yourself and your potential. Have a safe and blessed day. And as always, don't forget to pamper yourself.